Saturday morning time for the Experts program on Power Talk Radio, and we have Luis Alvarez, the CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us on this Memorial Day weekend. Luis, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us here.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. It might be a holiday, but technology charges on, so we need to talk about it.
Yep. And by the way, I'll just mention here, being that Monday's Memorial Day, I know that a number of organizations like the American Legion and the VFW hold Memorial Day ceremonies, remembrances of service members who gave that last full measure of devotion and service to this country. If you're looking at attending one, you might check online, either in the Monterey Herald or the Salinas Californian, for the times and locations of those. But there's a bunch of them on Monday. I think there's one out in Castroville at the cemetery there, and then up in Seaside at the cemetery, and another one at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Salinas, and also one at the Garden of Memories. So there's plenty of ways to commemorate and observe Memorial Day on Monday. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little technology here, and we've got a really great topic about remote bricking of Ukrainian tractors, and certainly want to get into that here. This is raising agricultural security concerns, and I guess, Luis, it's like anything. Everything we touch these days, in one way or another, can be or is connected to the net, and if it is, that means that some bad guy can get in there and mess with it.
Yeah, and it's particularly concerning for a lot of machinery, that we call them the Internet of Things connections, or IoT devices that are connected to the internet. And many of those developers that put together that technology don't take security as seriously as, let's say, somebody that's putting together an application for a PC or server. And in the case that we're talking about, as we know, Russia has been stealing a lot of things from Ukraine as they pursue their invasion. And one of the things that they did was that they stole 27 pieces of farm machinery, tractors, from a John Deere dealer in Ukraine. And those tractors were modern tractors that had GPS systems in there, and they also were controlled via remote control by John Deere themselves. So they were able to brick them, as we call it, that is, make them so that they were unusable because they locked them down, and so they just sat around for a while. But that led to the Russians looking for somebody that could bypass the digital protection that was keeping the machines from being used. And that speaks to the fear that a lot of folks have that once cyber criminals get into these devices, they'll be able to post ways to manipulate these systems. And if you know anything about farming, a lot of these systems that are deployed, and these are the same tractors that we use here in the fields in Salinas and used all across the country, they are all connected via the cloud to the mothership at John Deere for a number of purposes, including diagnostics, the ability to control them, the ability to shut them down if you miss payments, stuff like that. And this is not dissimilar to some of the services that modern cars have, the VIN detectors, they call them, that connect your car to the back end of the dealer, of the manufacturer, so that if your car is ever stolen, they can actually lock it down so it can't be used, and they can find out where it's at and report to the authorities. So all that said, a lot of this machinery is very hackable. And imagine if the guys who are helping the Russians try to crack into those John Deere tractors post online how they did it, which means that now literally hackers could take control of tractors in the United States or anywhere else in the world using the information that they gained trying to get into these machines that were stolen from Ukraine.
So this is something that's really concerning. Now, once this war is resolved, these bricked tractors, would the Ukrainians be able to get in touch with the John Deere people and get them unbricked, get them working again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the idea, is like, look, we're going to keep you from using these things. They actually transported them all the way out to Chechnya is where they found them. Mm-hmm. Once the GPS started working again. And as soon as they turned them on and the GPS connected up with the mothership, code was sent to those tractors to lock down and not let anything work. Mm-hmm. And so the Russians couldn't know that was coming because, they probably didn't have any knowledge of how these tractors were managed or controlled. But, once you connect to the device to the internet and it has some remote control capability, then it's really easy to take control of it.
Food security is a national security issue. So This is something that I'm sure that our people in national security are looking at, probably going to start thinking about ways that American farmers can protect their equipment and work with the people at John Deere and International Harvester and the rest of the folks that build that equipment on seeing how you can better protect them.
Yeah, in fact, this is a critical national effort that's going on at the highest levels in federal government to make sure that all of these devices that are IoT, that are connected via the internet to some remote posted facility, to try to make sure that those connections are strengthened and they are locked down as much as possible so that the bad guys can't get into them.
Hey, one other thing to ask you about today. We were talking about it off the air, and so many of us are plagued by scam calls on our cell phones. All the time they're coming in. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a newer cell phone built in the last couple of years, it is loaded, I guess, in the firmware with detection circuit that will, when a phone call comes in, it'll say scam likely, okay? Mm-hmm. And so then you can not answer that call. If you have an older phone, you don't have that advantage, and so you have these calls coming in, and sometimes you answer them because it may be coming from the same area code that your phone is in, and you think it's a local call, and it turns out it's some scammer who's spoofing a local number. Anyway, I noticed that in the App Store, like in the Apple App Store, there's a number of scam shields available. Some of them are designed like there's a T-Mobile scam shield, and there's one for Verizon and one for AT&T. First off, do these scam shields work? And are there generic ones that you can load onto your phone that work? And are these all that you have to buy them, or are any of them free?
Yeah, so great questions. There are some options that are not manufacturer or vendor specific. I know I have a Verizon phone, so Verizon offers a service, as you mentioned, and my phone's relatively new, so I use that. But if you don't have a built-in service, there's a couple of products that I like. One is called RoboShield. It's for the iPhone and the iPads, and it does a great job of protecting from spam callers. And by the way, the database that these guys use, third-party developers, is the exact same database that is used by the manufacturer-provided system. So they're just as good in helping detect potential spam or scam calls, as we like to call them. Another one that I like is by Malwarebytes, which is a name that we all know from our PCs. It's similar in functionality to RoboShield, and there's a free option that you can use, and there's also an upgraded paid option that's a little bit more effective. But either one of those, I think, would work just fine.
Okay, and that Malwarebytes, will that protect the rest of your phone from other intrusions, ransomware, or is this just for incoming calls?
No, actually, that's a great question. And in addition to doing the call blocking and call detection, it also does web protection. So if you're using your phone for browsing, it will detect any malicious links or anything, malicious sites that you might be going to. If you get a link texted to you and says, hey, go to this site, and you click it inadvertently, and it will protect you because it won't let you go to that site if it's a known or a suspected bad site.
Great to know. Super advice from Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us this Saturday morning on Power Talk. Online, it's alvareztg.com, at alvareztg. That's the Twitter handle. Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.
And looking ahead to Memorial Day, Monday morning, we're going to be talking about a new internet service called Starlink, and let folks know a little bit about this.
Yeah, if you're an RV user and you travel the byways and highways of the U.S. and you want to stay connected, then you're going to want to listen to what we have to say about Starlink.
All right, that's starting Monday morning in the 8 o'clock hour here on Power Talk. Thanks, Luis, and have a great weekend.
You too, my friend.